The dining room was packed. Uncles cracked jokes, cousins shared childhood stories, and Daniel sat proudly at the head of the table with Lily by his side. My Aunt Caroline, Daniel's mother, floated around with a smile plastered on her face, making sure every guest had enough to eat. But I couldn't ignore the tension beneath her smile. Her eyes darted nervously toward Daniel, and whenever Lily laughed, Aunt Caroline's jaw tightened just slightly. It was subtle, almost invisible to others, but I noticed. Later that evening, I went into the kitchen to grab a drink. That's when I overheard something. Aunt Caroline was whispering to Uncle James, Daniel's father. "If it comes out tomorrow, everything will be ruined." Her voice trembled, and Uncle James squeezed her arm. "Don't bring it up. It's too late now." My stomach tightened. If it comes out, what could she mean? When I returned to the table, I couldn't shake what I'd heard. Everyone was laughing, glasses raised in celebration. My curiosity burned, so I asked, maybe without thinking, "Lily, how did you and Daniel meet?" The real story, not the one everyone tells. The room went still. Forks froze midway to mouths. Daniel's smile faltered. Lily blinked, looking startled. Then my aunt dropped her glass. Lily's lips trembled. "The real story," she whispered. Daniel shot me a sharp look. "We've already told everyone. We met at college." But Lily's hands shook as she set her fork down. "No, we didn't." My aunt gasped. The room fell into complete silence. Then Lily turned to Daniel, her eyes glassy. "Are you ever going to tell them?" My chest tightened. I hadn't expected this. Tears welled in Lily's eyes. "We didn't meet at college. Daniel was dating my sister back then." Gasps erupted around the table. My aunt looked as if the air had been sucked from her lungs. Lily continued, her voice breaking. When she passed away, Daniel turned to me. That's how it really began." The silence was deafening. Uncle James slammed his fist onto the table. "Caroline, you knew about this?" My aunt's tears finally spilled. "I begged him not to tell. I thought it would destroy everything." Tears welled in Lily's eyes. "We didn't meet at college. Daniel was dating my sister back then." Gasps erupted around the table. My aunt looked as if the air had been sucked from her lungs. Lily stood, her chair scraping the floor. "I loved my sister, and I loved Daniel. But hiding this truth feels like betrayal." Daniel's voice cracked. "I didn't want people to think it was wrong, that I moved on too fast." The room was thick with judgment, anger, and heartbreak. Cousins avoided eye contact, uncles muttered under their breath, and my aunt sobbed quietly into a napkin. Sat frozen, realizing my simple question had opened a wound no one was ready for. After what felt like hours of silence, Lily wiped her tears. "I need time to think. If tomorrow happens, it has to happen with honesty." She left the table, walking out into the night. Daniel followed, his face pale and full of regret. Family was left behind in stunned silence, replaying every word in their minds. That night, none of us slept. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat awake, replaying Lily's words. Daniel had once dated her sister, and when she passed away, Lily stepped into the picture. I remembered faintly that Lily's sister, Claire, had died in a car accident 3 years ago. She had been bright, full of life, and everyone adored her. At the funeral, Daniel had been inconsolable, barely leaving her graveside, but only a year later, he introduced Lily as his girlfriend. Everyone was shocked at first, but Daniel insisted. They had met at college and grown close over time. The truth, that it had started after Claire's death, had been buried. Now it all made sense. The next morning, the wedding preparations carried on in the hall. Flowers arrived, tables were being decorated, and guests were buzzing with excitement. But in our family, no one dared mention the dinner. Finally, I found Lily in the garden, staring at the roses. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Did I ruin everything? she asked softly. I shook my head. You didn't ruin it. The lie did. Daniel appeared at the doorway, his tuxedo jacket hanging loosely, his face pale. Lily, can we talk? She turned to him, her voice steady this time. Not until you're honest. With everyone. Now it all made sense. By noon, my aunt gathered everyone in the living room. The wedding was hours away, but the atmosphere was heavy. Daniel stood with Lily at his side, hand trembling in hers. I lied, Daniel began. I said we met at college, but the truth is, we grew closer after Claire passed away. I didn't want anyone to think I betrayed her memory. I didn't want to lose your respect. Tears filled his eyes. Lily squeezed his hand and added, I loved my sister, and I will always honor her memory, but I also love Daniel. Hiding the truth was wrong, but our love isn't. For a long time, no one spoke. Then, surprisingly, Uncle James, the angriest the night before, sighed and said, Love is messy, but honesty is the only way forward. If you're willing to face the world with truth, then maybe you deserve this chance. The wedding still went ahead, but it was not the fairy tale everyone expected. There were no grand speeches about college love stories, no made-up fairy tale. Instead, Daniel stood at the altar, voice shaking as he said, Our love didn't start in the most traditional way. It began in grief, in shared loss. But from that pain grew something real, something strong. And today I choose Lily, not as a replacement, but as the person who healed me. Lily's vows echoed the same honesty. The guests were touched, some still uncomfortable, but most wiping away tears. For the first time, their story was real, and that made it more beautiful than any lie. Later that night, as the celebration carried on, I thought back to my single question. How did you two meet? The real story. It had nearly torn everything apart, but it had also forced the truth into the open. Maybe families aren't held together by perfect fairy tales. Maybe they're held together by truth. The painful, complicated kind that tests whether love can withstand the weight of honesty. And in that moment, watching Daniel and Lily dance with tears in their eyes, I realized the silence that had filled. The room last night wasn't just shock. It was the sound of walls breaking, secrets crumbling, and truth finally breathing free. After the ceremony, while music played and glasses clinked, not everyone was celebrating. I caught two of my aunts whispering in the corner. It's shameful, one muttered. To marry your late sister's fiancé? Or maybe it's fate, the other countered quietly. Their hushed voices carried the same conflict spreading through the family. Half judgment, half sympathy. Lily noticed, too. Her smile flickered, but she held her head high, clinging to Daniel's arm as if daring the world to challenge her. Later that night, I found Aunt Caroline alone in the kitchen, clutching a half-empty glass of wine. I should have stopped this, she whispered. Claire deserved better. Daniel deserved better. And Lily, she deserved honesty sooner. Her eyes brimmed with guilt. I told Daniel to hide it. I thought I was protecting the family. But secrets rot everything. For the first time, I realized her coldness wasn't cruelty. It was fear. Fear of judgment, fear of shame, fear of losing her perfect image of family. The next day, when most guests had left, Daniel found me outside. You changed everything, he said. I froze, unsure if he was angry or grateful. He sighed. I spent years building a lie because I thought the truth would destroy me. But last night, when Lily looked at me, I realized the lie was destroying her more than me. His voice cracked. I loved Claire. I'll always love her. But Lily gave me a reason to keep living. And maybe people won't understand, but it's my truth. Weeks later, Lily called me. She sounded shaken. I found something in Claire's old journal. When I visited, she handed me a folded letter Claire had written before her death. It read, "Daniel is a good man. If I'm not here one day, I hope he finds someone who loves him as I do. Maybe even someone who knows my heart well enough to carry it forward." Lily sobbed as she showed me. She wrote this, as if she knew. She gave me permission before I even dared to love him. My chest tightened. Claire hadn't just left a memory, she'd left her blessing. When Lily shared the letter at a small family dinner, the atmosphere shifted. Even Aunt Caroline, who had carried the heaviest guilt, broke down in sobs. Claire loved you both. Maybe I should stop fighting what she would have blessed herself. For the first time, there was peace. Daniel placed his arm around Lily, and instead of whispers, the family raised their glasses, not in judgment, but in reluctant acceptance. A year later, I attended their anniversary dinner. Lily glowed with happiness. Daniel finally seemed free of the weight of secrecy, and even Aunt Caroline had softened. Life wasn't perfect. There were still whispers from distant relatives, still shadows of the past, but their love had survived truth, judgment, and grief. As I watched them laugh together, I thought back to that night before the wedding. One question, so small, so simple, had changed everything. But sometimes, one question is all it takes to bring a family from shadows into light.